Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. Today's video is the result of the confluence of two recent events. Last week, I finished listening to the audio version of Eric Larson's The Demon of Unrest, a saga of hubris, heartbreak, and heroism at the dawn of the Civil War. It's a New York Times bestseller and, in my opinion, a well done account of events from the election of Abraham Lincoln as the 16th president to the bombardment of Fort Sumter and the surrender of Major Robert Anderson and his garrison. The lead up to the bombardment is filled with tension and drama as the Union is unraveling and cannot seemingly be stopped. The other event is a recent visit to the Philadelphia showroom of Freeman's Hindman auction to see a display of some of the 140 lots of the upcoming auction titled Lincoln's Legacy Historic Americana from the Life of Abraham Lincoln. It's going to be held live on May 21st, 2025. One of the items in the catalog is pictured here. It's the publisher's manuscript of President Lincoln's proclamation or executive order issuing a general blockade of ports in 7 southern states. It's dated April 19th, 1861, less than a week after the end of Larson's book, 2 days after Virginia seceded from the United States, and the same day, pro-secession rioters attacked Union volunteer troops of the 6th Massachusetts Infantry as they marched through Baltimore on the way to Washington, D.C. The timing of Lincoln's proclamation suggests to me the importance he placed on a naval blockade to protect life and property, both personal and government. It's also easy to see the influence of a general of the Army, Winfield Scott, who proposed to choke the economic life out of the nascent Confederacy by a blockade known to students of the Civil War as the Anaconda Plan, or an iron column, as Scott reportedly expressed it. The Library of Congress happens to have the published version, and you can see that here. This is a published copy of the proclamation, and there's a second proclamation issued about a week later by the president. Both of them are related. Both aim to stop the Confederacy on economic terms based on a legal argument. And as you scholars of Abraham Lincoln know, he used them often during his time in office and during his time before being president. These two proclamations are notable reads. I think it really helped set the stage for the blockade, and I want to share them with you. So this reading comes from the version in the Library of Congress, and it's titled Proclamations by the President of the United States of America. It begins, whereas an insurrection against the government of the United States has broken out in the states of South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, and the laws of the United States for the collection of the revenue cannot be effectually executed therein conformably to that provision of the Constitution which requires duties to be uniform throughout the United States. And whereas a combination of persons engaged in such insurrection have threatened to grant pretended letters of marque to authorize the bearers thereof to commit assaults on the lives, vessels, and property of good citizens of the country lawfully engaged in commerce on the high seas and in waters of the United States. And whereas an executive proclamation has been already issued requiring the persons engaged in these disorderly proceedings to desist therefrom, calling out a militia force for the purpose of repressing the same, and convening Congress in extraordinary session to deliberate and determine thereon. Now, therefore, I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States with a view to the same purposes before mentioned and to the protection of the public peace and the lives and property of quiet and orderly citizens pursuing their lawful occupations until Congress shall have assembled and deliberated on the said unlawful proceedings, or until the same shall have ceased, have further deemed it advisable to set on foot a blockade of the ports within the states aforesaid, in pursuance of the laws of the United States and of the law of nations in such case provided. For this purpose, a competent force will be posted so as to prevent entrance and exit of vessels from the ports aforesaid. If, therefore, with the view to violate such blockade, a vessel shall approach or shall attempt to leave either of the said ports, she will be duly warned by the commander of one of the blockading vessels, who will endorse on her register the fact and date of such warning. And if the same vessel shall again attempt to enter or leave the blockaded ports, she will be captured and sent to the nearest convenient port for such proceedings against her and her cargo as prize as may be deemed advisable. And I hereby proclaim and declare that if any person under the pretended authority of the said states or under any other pretense shall molest a vessel of the United States or the persons or cargo on aboard of her, such person shall be amenable to the laws of the United States for the prevention and punishment of piracy. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the United States to be affixed, done at the city of Washington, this 19th day of April, in the year of our Lord, 1861, and the independence of the United States, the 85th. By the President, William H. Seward, Secretary of State, Abraham Lincoln. Here's the other proclamation, again, touching on the legal language and making an argument tied to the Constitution. This proclamation is titled, "The Ports of Virginia and North Carolina to be blockaded by the President of the United States of America. Whereas, for the reasons assigned in my proclamation of the 19th instant, a blockade of the ports of the states of South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas was ordered to be established. And whereas, since that date, public property of the United States has been seized, the collection of the revenues obstructed, and duly commissioned officers of the United States, while engaged in executing the orders of their superiors, have been arrested and held in custody as prisoners, or have been impeded in the discharge of their official duties without due legal process by persons claiming to act under authority of the states of Virginia and North Carolina. An efficient blockade of the ports of those states will therefore also be established. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the United States to be affixed, done at the city of Washington, this 27th day of April, in the year of our Lord, 1861, and of the independence of the United States, the 85th, by the President, William H. Seward, Secretary of State, Abraham Lincoln. So there you have two proclamations who, putting them together, are the beginnings, I think, of the much larger blockade that was established to place a chokehold on the Confederate States. Here's Lincoln moving very cautiously in the days just after Fort Sumter, and after that, a little bit later on, after Virginia has seceded and North Carolina is going to secede in mid-May. So thanks for listening. Check out the listing below if you want to see the auction, and know that Freeman's Hindman Auctions is an advertiser, a paid advertiser for Military Images magazine. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail.